Every time the Knicks pay you, every time the Knicks play, you go on Twitter and Tom's trending, criticized more than any other coach. I know there are fans who pay attention, passionate, follow it, and study it. Believe me when I tell you, he knows 2 times as much as you do, which is cool. And then he played, here's the video.
Every time the Knicks play, you go on Twitter and Tom is trending. Everyone, Tom gets criticized more than any other coach. And I don't know how you can argue with the results when you look at the overall roster. Tom is about basketball, and he knows more about the Knicks and every player in that roster than anybody else knows. And I get it. I know that there are fans that pay attention. They're passionate. They follow it. They study it. Believe me when I tell you, he knows twice as much as you do. I know you may think you do, but you don't. The guy is locked in. He's married to basketball. He watches film. He studies things. He's pretty plugged in, not only to his team, but the other 29 teams as well.
All right. So that's what he had to say about Tom Thibodeau. Frank Isola, those are his statements about Tom Thibodeau, the head coach for the New York Knicks. And I got to second that part where you can tell people respect him. The players, the way they talk about him in a press conference, there's a real respect. You can tell when somebody respects another person. And we've seen so many players of this era totally disregard and really disrespect their head coaches. We've seen LeBron disrespect Eric Spoelstra the first season of the game, where it felt like disrespect. Disrespect is a word that's just totally overused in this era, in this generation, the internet. This just de-evolution or evolution of human beings that we are today, right? We've seen LeBron do that. We've seen just coaches being belittled in public. We've seen Dwight Howard go at Stan Van Gundy. We've heard about Shaq disrespecting Stan Van Gundy, real disrespect. And we don't see that with Pat Riley, though. We don't see that with Phil Jackson, except if you're, LeBron and Phil Jackson's the general manager and you're just swinging your, what around pause to show your power and to show that I got more power than Phil Jackson, right? At this stage, Phil Jackson is not respected by anybody, maybe, but all time, Jerry West might not respect him. But the point is, you can tell when there isn't respect for someone in the NBA and when there is. And for me, I've always recognized that with Tom Thibodeau. To say that he knows more basketball than me as a fan, I really don't care. Like, how is that an endorsement or a point of view that's persuasive or convincing enough to tell me that he's reading these lineups correctly? Like, if you are watching that much basketball, maybe you are too close to the fire, pun intended. Right? I think it is tough to be in the mix and be a coach and be whoever it is in the game, have a game plan, go in there, and you have to perform. You have to perform. And with New York City, it's way different. New York has been Twitter since the inception of sports, right? Like, we're very demanding. I mean, when all the gambling was going on, even in the 60s, we had gambling here. They're not going to tell you that publicly, but that's who made up the Garden. Bunch of gamblers in the crowd. It wasn't much of a family oriented crowd. So it's always been hard here. And for Thibodeau, I get it. You want to defend him as far as the respect his basketball mind. I mean, he also won a ring with the Boston Celtics in 2008 with Doc Rivers as the head coach, but he's the mastermind behind the defense. He's part of the reason why they play defense the way they do now. We get that. We get all of that. But what does him knowing more basketball than me have to do with the fact that, hey, you may have ran Derrick Rose to the ground. You may be running Julius Randle to the ground. You may be running all of your players to the ground. I'm glad we got DiVincenzo and we added another player to rotate in this pretty deep lineup. DiVincenzo, Hart, IQ, Barrett, Brunson, of course. They're all going to be on the perimeter and they can run around. A lot of these lineups are going to be real interesting. Grimes, very interesting. And, I'm not falling for that. Everyone has a great relationship with whoever. And That's cool, bro. You love Tom Thibodeau's mind. The players do also. But at a certain point, I would never argue that I know more basketball than Stan Van Gundy. But he's clearly not respected, and he lost his job several times. So that has nothing to do with executing the game plan. They got their mob style uh general manager, front office, and coach relationship. I think that's a great thing because you never want to, Pat Riley did that with Spoelstra, right? Like you want to respect that guy. So I appreciate all of that. They're getting what they wanted. Um, as much as we criticize Leon Rose and them as well, I think the number one thing that I can't criticize them for is, these are all NBA type players in Julius Randle and Jalen Brunson, and they're severely underpaid, severely underpaid compared to what they could get. So they're believing in the system. They're believing in the new Nick culture, which is what the ESPN and Zach Lowe and these guys are talking about now with having